What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, gamers, guys, gals, and every motherfucker out there watching this video? Welcome back to Draft Degenerates. We're back, better than ever. We got a whole channel. We got a whole new logo. Shout out to Thunderball Lewis Hong Kong for making that shit for us. Is goated. Go down there, look at it. While you're looking at it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. We're plugging. It's the first minute of the video. I don't give a shit. Press all the buttons. Go subscribe to Thunderball's channel. He's cool. Our channels are down there. Go subscribe to those. Today, people, you can see it on the screen. You can see it on the title. You know what we're up to. Power Rankings, UDL Season 4 is real. The first season of Generation 9 is about to be crazy. These teams are wild, mostly. I'm joined, as always, by the handsomest, smartest, most talented, skilled guy in the whole world, the Tobster himself, Toby. Hello, Toby. Thank you so much for being here. I say it like you're a guest. You're not. It's literally
you know
our thing.
It's fine.
But...
Return of the Draft Degenerates. What better way to kick off Draft Degenerates and Generation 9 by shitting on or praising teams?
Oh God, bro.
But we're going to just go ahead and get right into it here. You see it on the screen. We are going to be ranking the... First off, we'll show you our methodology. So, firstly, don't take this to heart, bozo. This is all subjective. We're not judging your ability as a coach. We are not in any way trying to bully or anything like that. We are just trying to give you our opinions on your teams. However, we're still objectively correct. So, True. Deal with it. Right. And if you have any disagreements, feel free to message R2 on Discord. He'll be happy to hear you out. R2 is our HR department. He's been with us for the whole time. He's very reliable.
He's great at dealing with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So just send him a message if you have a complaint. But first off, we're going to start with power rankings of the Houndstone division, the division that both Raz and myself are in, which is why we're doing it first, because it made the most sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A better division, also.
Well, it's also the better division. I mean, Houndstone's the better dog. Fuck my boss, Stiff.
True.
But
oh, God.
So, coming in, there were 12 players in this division, and coming in at 12th place... Dead last, and it was, I am afraid to say, not even close.
It wasn't really that close.
Lewis P. Thunderball, coach of the HK Blades.
Brother.
Raz, do you want to start?
I hate this team. That's not true. I don't hate this team, but I think it's rough. So the first thing you see is you've got Klefki, Vivian for your top two picks. They're both support mons, and when you look through, right, it's like Klefki, Vivian, Golduck, Crocolore, Whiscash, and Sawsbuck are all mons with bad to, spoiler alert, bad to mediocre damage output. And so it's okay, then you have Dragalge, which is exclusively a Trick Room mon, but the issue is that you don't really have a Trick Room mode, and so I struggle to see how Dragalge functions on this team. Then you have Haunter, who's kind of fast and relatively strong, but it's still relatively easy to outrun, and with how frail it is, even with Eviolite, it's getting killed pretty quick most of the time, so you're probably going to be running Sash, and having that limited item versatility is not awesome. Golduck has to set up to get out damage output. It's mostly just a Cloud9 bot. It's not super bulky, it's not super strong. it doesn't do that much. Crocolore clicks Will-O-Wisp, and that's literally all it does. Its damage output is bad. Its bulk with Eviolite is okay. It doesn't get Torch Song. It clicks Will-O-Wisp, and that's it. And then Whiscash, it's Whiscash. It's tier 4 for a reason. It's not good. Sawsbuck, I think you can make stuff happen with, and I think Jolteon is a sleeper pick. And then, like, there's Gallade and Weavile, right? And Weavile is a really good mon. It gives you Fake Out, it gives you Icy Wind, which is really, really important on this team, because there's basically no other form of speed control, except, like, Trick Room Gallade, which is, again, like, the Trick Room mode on this team doesn't really exist. And then you have like beat up into Justified Gallade, which is very cool. But the problem is, because there's so little damage output across the board on this team, most of the time you want to run Weavile, who has like 125 base attack or 120,
yes,
as like offensive in order to make up for that. But the issue is, because it's so frail, it's hard to be super consistent as an offensive piece because of the same thing as Haunter. It's very easy to kill. Gallade is insanely good. I have it in CCC. It's bonkers, like bananas. That mon is so good, but it doesn't have that much to like support it. Its speed tier is solid, but it really wants Tailwind. And this team doesn't really have that. I think Vivian gets Tailwind, but like,
yeah,
it's a bug flying type. It's really not that hard to take out. And even Vivian's speed tier is not awesome. So Gallade really wants Weavile to be running Icy Wind because it really appreciates that speed control. But the nature of the team wants Weavile to be doing something else. And so it's like, I just really don't think... I've been rambling, but I don't really think this team has much going on. I think it has several pieces that are solid in a vacuum, but I think they come together and don't really do much.
Yeah, I honestly... You summed it up pretty well, and I don't know. I guess what I want to add is I'm a big core guy, and I really, that's like one of the first things I look at when I look at teams is like what kind of type cores you have, and the Firewater Grass core here is Sawsbuck, Golduck, Crocolore, right? I don't really think that's a good Firewater Grass core, personally.
No.
I just don't. And I feel like Klefki Dragalge as a fantasy core itself is also not super strong, especially considering you don't really have considering that's really your Trick Room mode right there. That's it. That's also easy to predict and prepare for. And I also think with Vivian being your only Tailwind setter, like you said, that's just easy to kill, and going fast is going to be rather challenging for this team. And yeah, that's it. That was the only thing I have to add is the cores don't feel really good here. And it doesn't even feel justified because speed tiers and damage output is pretty wonky for this team as well. But I think we've shed on Thunderball enough here. So we're going to move on to number 11, which was... Sorry, it's, again, not predictive of coaches or your season, but...
Right, yeah.
Coming in at number 11, we have Alligator of the Durham Toros. And I believe when we looked at this, it just feels like... It feels like there's a lot going on and not a lot working together, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you can start while I pull up his team pace.
When I first look at this team, I go, damn, this team is good. And then I think about it and I go, I don't know. Because, like, I think Scizor is a really good piece, and Morgrem is obviously good. I'm a big Clodsir believer, especially in this generation. I think Stonejourner is good. I think Pikachu is a good low-tier pick. But then it's like, okay, so... none of those things are particularly fast.
Yeah.
Clodsir likes Trick Room, but your only setter is like
Lumineon. Lumineon is the Tailwind setter.
Lumineon's the Tailwind setter. Banette is the Trick Room setter, and it's like, okay, so I think Morgrem saves this team from being like completely unusable. No, that's not true. Again, they're good. Before I say anything else, the power level in this division is really, really high.
Is quite high, yeah.
It's like half the teams ended up in like A tier. And so like most of the teams are very solid across the board. I think this team is usable and fine. I think it's mid. And so it goes from like one team in bottom tier to like we had 5 tiers. There's one team in the bottom tier, no teams in tier 4. Yeah. This team, like, I have to specify, I think this team is mid. It's just I think every other team is better.
Yeah.
So like I think having Clodsir and Stonejourner on a team where your only Trick Room setter is Banette is questionable. Obviously, Stonejourner is good for like other reasons, but it feels like a mon that really thrives in Trick Room, which is kind of hard to have access to, because I feel like Banette is pretty easy to stop. And then Lumineon is your only Tailwind setter, with things like Pikachu and Muck and Low Kicks, which really appreciate Tailwind. It gets a little tricky. Obviously, you still have like Thunder Wave on Morgrem, which makes it a little more usable, but I don't know. I am notoriously like a bulky offense hater, and it's growing on me, but like I feel like you need some form of like okay speed control, and I don't think Lumineon really does it for me. And then like Morgrem kind of becomes taunt bait, right? Because you have to have screens, and then if you want speed control, you have to have Thunder Wave, and Morgrem is almost always running Fake Out. And so it's like it feels relatively easy to shut down. And then when you're kind of like relatively reliant on screens, it makes it very easy for people to run Brick Break, which has good distribution, or like the people who have Tauros, Raging Bull break screens, or etc. Like there are ways of getting rid of screens, and I feel like it's relatively easy to taunt Morgrem, break screens, kill it, and move on.
Yeah. And there's also only one Pokemon on his team that's above base 100 speed, and that's Hawlucha, right?
Which is bad.
Hawlucha is not a very
good Pokemon.
Well, it's no, that's fair. It's not super strong. It's not super bulky. It has setup capability, but good luck setting up.
Right. Especially considering like you don't have any redirection.
Yeah. And it also, if Hawlucha still had Tailwind, I feel like I could justify the pick a little bit more. But Hawlucha is one of the only Pokemon in Gen 9 that had Tailwind taken away from it and not given to it. And Lumineon being your Tailwind setter also feels kind of bad because, again, it's not the fastest thing on the field most of the time. I guess you could run Scarf Lumineon, but not being over base 100 speed and having Tailwind feels kind of inconsistent to me. Yeah. And with the really questionable bulk, there's not much of a chance it lives through a hit to set Tailwind.
Right.
And also, like we mentioned, Bayonet being your Trick Room setter also feels a little awkward too for the exact same reasons. Bayonet just kind of dies. And the other thing is that the speed tiers here don't seem super usable for Trick Room in the first place anyway.
Clawster's like 59, I think.
Clawster's 59, and Muck is 50. Those are the best ones there.
Right.
But which is fine. Like that's good. But in terms of functionality, it probably works just fine if you needed a makeshift Trick Room. But there are teams above this team that are much slower than it that could operate in Trick Room much more effectively.
Yeah.
Is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. I also feel like it leans pretty top heavy for damage output. Like Scizor is strong, Clawster is strong, Stonejourner is strong. I say top heavy. What I mean is like looking at it, the top half. It's like Scizor, Clawster, Stonejourner, Pikachu, and then Muck, Goodra, Halucha, Low-Kick, Spinette. All of their damage output is just like mid or worse, and so it's like I feel like the team is gonna get pretty like Ali is not a predictable coach, but I feel like the team lends itself to being relatively predictable just because of how it's constructed.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, I mean, Stonejourner Power Spot is really good. That'll give some buffs to your offense there. And I think Goodra's offense is actually pretty good. I mean, I know we disagree on that, but I mean, I don't think your offense is severely lacking, but I do think right out the gate, in terms of pure power, like turn 1, turn 2, you're definitely going to be lacking a little bit, at least on your lower half. But that's about all I have to say for it. Are you good here?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, then we are moving on to number 10. And again, these teams get very close in power level as we move forward. So these teams are very comparable. So just because you got number 10 doesn't mean we think your team is bad. We have the Paldean Knights, Coach Flame. And the first thing I noticed here was, I think we said when we started tiering it, was it has Abomasnow Titan, which is a really good, really strong, viable VGC mode. And that immediately put it above, like it's immediately not bottom tier, it's immediately not second to last tier. That mode in and of itself is just insanely strong. And then being able to add like Priority Tailwind to it is really, really good. And I also think the type cores you have going on here, like Slowbro, Go-Goat, and Flareon, all of which are very good. Slowbro and Go-Go, of course, you can calc to live things. Those are very bulky mons. Flareon, you can probably make it live a few calcs here and there. But I do think that I think the lower tier picks for me is at least Cloyster, Lycanroc, Midnight, and Palisand. I feel like there was better value there that you could have used. I don't think they're doing as much for you as you might like them to. But what are your thoughts there, Raz?
First of all, like you said, there are a lot of things on this team that I like. I like Abomasnow Titan. I really like Abomasnow with Aurora Veil is going to be really, really beneficial for this team. I think Slowking is a bit of an odd pick. I think it's a good mon. I think it's a great Trick Room setter. I think the Trick Room mode is not like
close to not existent.
Right. And so it's like I don't know if you wanted to, you could probably run like Slowking, Palisand, Titan, but I don't know if that Trick Room mode is good enough to warrant a tier 2 TR setter pick, especially considering like Titan usually is just going to be raw better in snow anyway. This team also has a massive rock weakness. Like, it's huge.
Yes.
Talonflame, Flareon, Abomasnow, Titan, Cloyster,
It's also
Yeah.
got a pretty. It's got a decent fire weakness too.
Yeah. Um it looks like it leans relatively physically heavy. Like Palisand is special and Abomasnow can be special, and Slowking, if you decide to run pseudo offensive, that's special. But like everything else is physical, and Bisharp is a good intimidate deterrent, but like if you run into a mon that has good physical defenses, it's gonna be tough to deal with.
Yeah,
But
I agree. And piggybacking on your Trick Room mode comment, yeah, it's Palisand and Slowking that would be the Trick Room mode. And
yeah,
Palisand, I'm not a fan of Palisand, just in general.
yeah,
I think, well, I guess the best ways that you are gonna like proc Palisand's ability, like water compaction, would be like Surf Slowking, I guess.
maybe chilling water.
Maybe Chilling Water. But there's not a lot of stuff that jumps out to me as great for water compaction there, because I don't really think Palisand's a very bulky mon in general, and I don't think it lives a lot of hits in order to like make use of that ability.
Right.
And also having that as your Trick Room Sweeper feels kind of bad, because it also doesn't even have super great special attack. It's like what, base 100?
I think it's 100. It
Yeah.
might be 110, but I'm pretty sure it's 100.
It's 100. I'm seeing. Yeah, it's 100.
Yeah.
So there's not a ton. Like with that being your only real Trick Room Sweeper, I guess you can use Slowking for that too. There's not a ton of like offense out the gate for your Trick Room mode.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm noticing is, other than Talonflame, again, that's your only Pokemon over base 100 speed. So while you have priority Tailwind, and that's really good, matching Tailwind from your opponents on other sides who already have faster Pokemon, it's not going to make much of a difference for you anyway. And yeah, that's my take on it. Is it feels like you can't really go fast and you can't really go slow effectively much at all.
Right.
I feel like Camera Up shits all over this team.
True. So true, dude.
Like,
dude, Camera Up goes dummy on
Camera Up goes kind of hard here. I think that the best part of this team is to tighten Abomasnow and then a little bit Talonflame, and then it kind of drops off from there. But I don't know.
I like in a vacuum, so
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that's about everything for the Paldean Knights. So coming in at number 9, we have Milwaukee Mamoswine, coached by M-Boss. And I just want to start off by saying, again, this is where it comes in that even like the lower on the ladder teams are really, really good. Because, I mean, look at this mode. You have Kilowattrel Donphan, so you have Disquake out the gate right there. You have really good Tailwind. You have Earthworm for Earth Eater, so synergy with Donphan there. You've got 2 Mons that you can have on the field with Donphan to spam Earthquakes at any point in time. You have Cinderace, which is a really strong physical attacker. Gardevoir, which is a really strong special attacker. You have your Trick Room. You have your Tailwind. You have pretty decently distributed speed tiers, but that's actually kind of where the problem starts with us, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that, again, really your best fast mon is Kilowattrel, and then Cinderace is up there. But then you don't have really good speed for Trick Room or Tailwind. All of these speed tiers on here are pretty like in the middle, like 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Couple in the 80s. But when most of your team is like in that middle ground there, it makes it really hard to go faster or slower than your opponent without really, really good intermediate speed control.
Like you said, there's a lot of stuff here that I like, but then it's like, okay, you get to like the low tier picks, and like, obviously you can't define a team based off of their low tier picks.
Sure.
But like Skiploom, Misdreavus, Zangoose, I'm not a believer. I think Glaceon is weird without Snow, which like feels redundant, but like Glaceon is strong and it's good because of like Blizzard spam. And when you don't have Blizzard spam anymore, it's like, okay, you run like Ice Beam, which is strong to be certain, and then what, like Icy Wind, I guess, Helping Hand, and something that seems like it should be a really strong attacker becomes almost like exclusively a support mon. And Glaceon's bulk is decent, but Ice is a horrific defensive typing. And so it's like, because its coverage is so bad, it becomes difficult to like make function. And then like, actually, I think Gardevoir is better on here than I realized, because you can run telepathy and then dodge like discharge from Kilowattrel if you want it. And then obviously Kilowattrel can set Tailwind. But like I feel like it's gonna end up being relatively reliant on the same 6. I feel like you're gonna run Kilowattrel, Donphan, Mabostiff, Orthworm, Gardevoir, Cinderace like basically every week, because I feel like the rest of your picks just don't really synergize all that well. And I don't know. I think it kind of railroads you into just doing almost the same thing like every week.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Skiploom is going to do much. I mean, Zangoose might do something. Misdreavus has some support move pools and can be like, I guess you could run Trick Room there if you didn't want to run Trick Room on Gardevoir, but yeah, ultimately I feel like your lower tier picks and a couple of your free agent picks aren't really going to come in as handy as your top tier stuff.
Right.
But I think that's all the comments I had for Milwaukee Mamoswine. Okay, then we are going to move on to number 8, which is the 4X attack coached by El Flamingo. And Rez, I'm going to let you start because I think we have pretty differing opinions on this team.
I'm not as hot on this team as everybody else. Toby and I were chatting about this, and we talked about it a lot. I think it's extremely slacking centric, which is fair, right? It's your tier 1. You want to build a team around your tier 1. And so like Doodle with Grafaiai being able to replace Truant through Protect, even very, very good. Metacham skill swap onto Slacking, also very good. Fletchinder being able to feint in front of Slacking, incredible. And then you start to lose me. I am a big believer in like Sunflora and like a Sunroom type of deal, because like it's good value in the tier because its base speed is like 30, and then its base special attack is 105, which is very similar to Charizard, and then you get solar power and whatever boosting item you want, and it actually kind of hits calcs. It's got decent coverage. It's got like earth power. I think it gets weather ball. Obviously it gets like grass stabs, etc. But you don't really have a Sunsetter, and it's also scary to run a grass type in Sun, especially when it's like pretty reliant on Trick Room, because you're weak to the type that the Sun is boosting. And then your setter is Bronzor, who's notoriously like a really good low tier Trick Room setter, but it's easy to fake out, it's easy to taunt. And again, like if you want to set Sunny Day for your Sunflora, all of a sudden both of your mons are weak to fire, and they're taking extra damage from fire. And so it's like that gets kind of scary. And then it's like, okay, you can set Trick Room with Mimikyu, but like, is your Trick Room mode is like Mimikyu Sunflora? What are we doing here? And so it's like, I'm not 100% convinced that on this particular team, Mimikyu was worth the 100 points that he got it for. I also really like, I like Zoroark, but I think Illusion is good because of, like, defensive synergies that you have. And so, like, you're looking for Pokemon that are weak to Psychic. You're looking for Pokemon that are weak to Dark. You're looking for Pokemon that are weak to Ghost, right? Grafaiai and Toxapex are weak to Psychic, so that's something. But, like, most of the time, those two mons in particular, most of the time people are going to be targeting whatever's next to it anyway. And then Slacking isn't weak to Dark, it's not weak to Ghost. Like, Medicham is weak to Ghost, and then that's kind of, like, where it falls off, except for, like, Mimikyu, I guess. But it's just, it's got some things, but I feel like the things that are going to make it useful in regards to that defensive synergy aren't really, like, they aren't always or even frequently gonna pan out that way. I think Toxapex is a dog shit mon.
True.
I think Cloth is interesting, but I think it's probably not going to proc as often as you want it to. I think Tatsugiri is really good here. I think having access to Icy Wind is really awesome, especially for, like, this comp, which also has Prancer Tailwind, which is very good for this squad. And then, like, Draco Meteor is good, but I think without Dondozo, which is banned, I'm not saying he should have grabbed it, it couldn't have. But I feel like it gets relatively one-dimensional. It's like Draco Meteor, Icy Wind, Muddy Water every time, which is, like, fine, but the more you do the same thing, the easier it becomes to play around. And so it's like, okay, mostly you're just doing shenanigans with Slacking, and obviously, clearly Wade is a good enough coach to, like, make that happen. He's gonna make it work, and he's gonna kick ass. This team is in the A tier, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like it's number 8. It's good. This is a good team, but, like, because it's so focused on, like, Slacking and kind of nothing else, I feel like it's going to be, like, it makes it easier to exploit in theory. And again, clearly it's not going to be that way because it's being coached by someone who's really smart. But in general, we're not talking about the coach. We're talking about the team. And I think the team does, like, one thing in a few different ways, but it does one thing.
Fair enough. If it were solely up to me, I probably would have ranked this team probably, like, 7th or 6th. But... And, like, what you said about Mimikyu and Tatsugiri, and even to a degree Zoroark, I really do agree with that. My thing is, yes, this team does one thing, and it does one thing in a few ways. But that one thing is a Pokemon with 160 base attack, with over 100 in both defenses, really good... HP, 150 defense, or 150 HP, sorry, and then 100 speed. That's wild. This mon is insane. There was contention about it being a tier 2 Pokemon. We kept it in tier 1 specifically because we figured something like this would be drafted around it.
Yeah.
Because while it does one thing and one thing only, let Slacking win, I think this team is the perfect example of how you can build that to make the let Slacking win strategy work pretty consistently and a lot of the time. And I know we're not really talking about Terra too much here, but you have to also consider Terra enables Slacking even more, in my opinion. And I don't know. I am of the opinion that while it is a pretty gimmicky team. I think the gimmick is going to work really well and much more consistently than what some people might like look at it and on paper think it might, or how much it might work. But I'm stumbling over myself. But the point is, I think the gimmick works a bit better than some do. But I also agree. I think it is a one-trick pony of a team. That is for sure. I agree with that. But that is all I have to say about that. Raz is smarter than me, so he's probably right. But in number 7, we've got Krabby Shack, coach of the Corpus Christi Kinglers. And I gotta say, I really fucking love this team. This team is a blast from the past. You'll notice there is not a single Gen 9 Mon on this team. This is the most Gen 8 draft team I've seen since Gen 9 started, and I kind of fuck with it. Because you've got your classic rain mode with Pelipper, Dreadnought, and then that's covered very well with Raichu and its Lightning Rod. You've got Lucario, who is in general very strong, special and physical attacker. You've got your prankster stuff with Impidimp in low tier, in tier 4, which is a pretty good pick for tier 4. You've got really strong cores with Salazzle, Dreadnought, Appleton. You've got Stantler for Trick Room. You've got Pelipper for Tailwind. You've got all the necessary modes. You've got all the necessary type coverage. You've got all the correct synergies for a Rain Sweeper team, and I'm singing a lot of its praises, and that should be telling of the teams above this, because this is number 7, and I really, really like this team. We didn't have a ton wrong with it that we like immediately identified, but I don't know, take it away, Raz.
Mostly the only thing about it is that Fairy does pretty well into this team. Your Steel type doesn't resist, and so your only resist is Salazzle. And then I'm not really 100% sure what Appleton is doing here. Like, it's pretty distinctly a Trick Room Mon, and so it'll be helpful in matchups where your opponent is going to set Trick Room and you don't really have any way around that. But it's like you go fast so well, right? Mm-hmm. And you can deny Trick Room with Imprison, Trick Room Stantler, which also has Intimidate, so it's still like doing utility stuff. Fake out Nuzzle, Thunder Wave from Raichu, Tailwind with Pelipper, Ice Wind from Cryogonal, Thunder Wave from Impidimp, Swift Swim from Dreadnought, Fake Out from Salazzle, Intimidate from Krokorok. There are a lot of mons that are doing a lot of things. And so I feel like Appleton, aside from like filling out type cores, which I definitely understand and respect, I feel like it's not really doing that much on this team. And I feel like Hypno is a little redundant. You probably could have taken something else, because the way it looks to me right now is it's just doing what Stantler is doing, but worse. And it's like, okay, well, you could set screens with it, but okay, why? Excuse me, Jesus. Why are you setting screens with Hypno and not Impidimp? Which I think... Does Impidimp not get screens?
I think it does now. I think it does.
It does?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. But yeah, and so it's like... I don't really know what Hypno is doing here. I think Appleton could probably be something else, and maybe, yeah. But those are really my only two things. I think this team is really solid. You got a lot of Fake Out, Double Intimidate, a lot of speed control, lots of things that are doing things. The damage output is good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that would be, I guess, my only thing too, is Hypno feels like it does the same things that other mons on your team will do better. That's really my only thing. I think Appleton could be traded, but I actually think Appleton is fine where it is. I mean, I don't think, obviously it's not maybe the best pick, but I don't think it's an atrocious pick by any means. I think it'll do enough work for you. So yeah, that is number 7. and a very strong 7. And coming in at number 6, a very strong 6. I'm gonna shut the. Oh, never mind. This is Raz's team, so I'm not gonna shut.
The fuck
Yeah,
up.
you're gonna shut the fuck up. Let me pull this up.
I didn't make this slide, by the way, for any people out there who are like, who did this? It was all Toby.
You like hippo ass. Anyway, so Raz's team, we put in number 6 because, kind of like Krabby's team, there's really not a shit ton wrong with it that really screamed out and jumped out at me, at least. You've got really solid type cores with Blaze Tauros, Cacturn, and water type Veluza. There it is. And you have really good support move pools with Espeon and Pachirisu and Masquerain. Your sand mode with Hippowdon and Lycanroc is very, very good. This team really, really likes to go fast. The only thing that really jumped out at me was that the team you do have a somewhat functional Trick Room mode in Hippowdon and Cacturn, but and correct me if I'm wrong, Espeon's your only setter, right? Yes. Okay, so that was mainly my problem there, was while Hippowdon and Cacturn are functional under Trick Room, they're not super optimal under Trick Room. There are multiple mons in the format that are going to be slower under Trick Room and function better. By no means does that mean that you can't use them under Trick Room, because 47 speed and 55 respectively is very, very good. But with those two mons obviously not being the slowest, and then your only Trick Room setter being Espeon, which is 110 speed, once that sets Trick Room, it's not gonna want to do much else while in Trick Room, I guess. But yeah, that's really it for me. Other than that, really good speed for multiple fast modes, really good support, really good type cores, all kinds of hidden modes and techs that I won't spoil for your benefit. I think this team is good. I think it's super solid. There's no huge complaints there. It's just maybe a more optimal Trick Room mode, but like I said, functional. So that's all I have to say. Do you have any comments about what I said?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. Then now I'm gonna shut the fuck up and I'm gonna let Raz talk.
I think this team is mostly heat. The Trick Room mode is really good with Arboliva and Camerupt and I mean, Sudowoodo sucks, but Sableye is incredible support. It's potentially the best support mon in the format. It gets screens now, which is stupid. Fake Out, Wash, Weathers, etc. Will-O-Wisp, fucking all kinds of shit all over the place. Having Sableye is a huge, huge boon to like literally any team. Luxray is good. It's strong. Guts is really good. Intimidate is also really good. It can do a couple different things, which is really awesome. Vaporeon, awesome mon, bulky water type. It's damn good. It works in Trick Room, and so your Fire, Water, Grass core all kind of like function together at the same time, which I think can be very beneficial. I think Grumpig is a sleeper pick. I had it in GLDL and I did not use it very well, but I've gone up against it a couple of times in other leagues, and every time I'm like, how is this mon doing all this work? How is it living these hits? How is it doing whatever? I ran into some offensive sets, which was weird. Screen sets, Trick Room sets, etc. Ditto is Ditto. And Sudowoodo sucks, but Staraptor, insanely strong. Camerupt, really good damage output thanks to like pretty high base power moves, really strong offensive typing. Arboliva is the best mon in the game. Altaria's nice for like deleting other people's weather. There are a couple weather modes um in this division. We just went over a couple of them, and so being able to send an Altaria and go, no, actually you're good, is gonna be really potent, I think. And then Zorua is funny. Um So I think there's a lot of really good bulk. I think there's a lot of synergy in terms of like typings. I think the modes are going to work together really well. I think the pieces are all really strong. I think this team is pretty heat. Um, it's yeah. I mean, it's relatively cut and dry in terms of like why it's good. Like you look at it and you go, yeah, that's pretty true. And then. Like, yeah, it's got a lot of options. Most of these pieces are really flexible, which I think is a really, really big deal in draft. It's just got good stuff across the board. I'm really into it.
All right, fair enough. I also have no closing comments. So after we've boosted our own egos for making the top half of the draft, coming in at number 4, we have Yeet, coach of the DK Jungle Beat, which, firstly, that's a baller-ass logo. But the thing I really want to talk about is something that I've been seeing on a couple of VGC stuff. The Typhlosion Dockspun mode, I am actually a huge fan of. I think that is going to be really good because Well-Baked Body, getting boosted by lava plumes coming out from Typhlosion, those body presses are going to hurt a lot. I think Oranguru really, really holds this team together and carries it on its back with its support move pool. Instruct goes right next to Typhlosion, so Typhlosion could hit Eruption, and Oranguru could use Instruct and say, do it again. You've got Anti-Priority in Serena. You've got your relatively consistent Tailwind with Braviary. You've got fast Thunder Waves and decent special attack in Electrode. You've got pretty dang good bulk with Hariyama. You've got Hisui and Zoroark, which in general was causing a bit of controversy in the beginning for it being somewhat quote-unquote overpowered. I don't really see it being super overpowered other than its immunities, but I think Hisui and Zoroark is actually a little out of place on this team. I feel like there might have been a better value tier 1 for him to pick there. But other than that, it's a very, very good Typhlosion and Friends team, and I'm interested to see it operate.
Yeah. I don't know if Wugtrio gets like Icy Wind or Bulldoze, but if it does, then it's like actually got something going for it. I think Ampharos is going to be really cool under Trick Room, especially with like Telepathy or Oranguru, so you can go for like Discharge if you really want the spread damage. I think Ice Cube is a weird pick, but I think it's interesting enough that I'm okay with it. Yeah, I mostly the way I feel is just what you said, but like I think there's nothing here where I look at a pick and I go, that's bad or that doesn't make any sense. Like the only thing that comes kind of close to that is Zoroark, but I think it's good enough in a vacuum that I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, illusion bullshit in general is A, funny, and B, really, really handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think drawing attention away from or towards Zoroark and away from other Mons is in itself extremely valuable. And I mean, I think you can copy paste that onto pretty much any team as long as you've got decent switch-ins for said Zoroark.
Yeah.
So not that it's a bad pick, just maybe there was better value there. But that's really the main thing. And I guess maybe I would have picked something other than Wugtrio, but I think Wugtrio does its job just fine here. Which is being a speedy physical attacker, because I think at that point in the draft he had like no speed, so he picked up Electrode and Wugtrio, so now that makes your speed tiers actually pretty decently distributed from what I'm seeing on my screen. So yeah, that's all I have to say, unless you had any comments.
Yeah, no, that's good for me.
All right. Then we're getting into the top 3 now, and starting out our top 3 is Barbecue, coach of the East Side Executors. Raz, what do you think of Barbecue's team?
This team is fucked up. It's like, honestly, it's kind of annoying. Like, look at this Trick Room mode. Bronzong, Sylveon, Bellybolt, Komala if you want to, Lurantis if you want to. What are you talking about? And then it's like fast mode. Okay, Greninja, Noivern, Heracross. What's happening? How did we get here? Heracross is insanely strong. Greninja is, I think it's a good tier 2. I think it works really well here. Obviously, Bellybolt and Sylveon work well. We saw him do stuff with Bronzong. I'm a Komala believer. I think it is always going to be one of the best mons in the bottom tier. Being immune to all status is really good. Base like 115 attack is awesome. It gets really good coverage. I'm a fan of pure normal type, just like personally. It gets good support move pool. Lurantis lost superpower, which sucks, but like it still gets Leaf Storm, and we saw that can still work. I think Delibird is really good for the low tiers. It gets Helping Hand, it gets Icy Wind, it gets Memento. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say Fake Out. It does get
I was
Memento.
like, Memento?
Memento is funny, and I've run that before, which is why I said it, but I meant to say like Helping Hand, Icy Wind, Fake Out are the big ones.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think it's a good low tier pick. I think Pyro kind of sucks, but if you need a fire type and you need it in the bottom tier, knock yourself out, I guess. The only thing I don't like is Clodsire. I don't think it's very good. Like obviously it gets water absorbed, but like you only have one water weakness on this whole team aside from Clodsire, and so it's like that. I feel like it's not really doing much, and then like it gets Unaware, but this is a format without Dondozo Tatsugiri, and most things are not setting up that reliably, and so it's like I feel like it doesn't really do anything, but I also think the rest of the team is good enough that I don't care.
Yeah, very, very true. This is I have to agree. I think the Trick Room mode in and of itself is pretty fucked up. I think the Fantasy Core in Sylveon, Noivern, Bronzong is pretty fucked up. They're obviously three tier 1s, so I guess it makes sense, but it's pretty fucked up. I think Heracross is going to probably sweep people for a couple weeks. Yes. You can run it Moxie, you can run it Guts, whatever you want. I think Heracross will probably clean sweep a team or two within this season. Yeah. I think if positioned right, Lurantis probably can too. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I think it's a very, very well built team. I think it's going to be very fun to pilot. And I wish 7-year-old Barbecue luck with this team.
Yeah.
But coming in at number 2, we have Ed, coach of the Fire Island Knights. And really, I feel like this is another example, kind of like what Krabby had. This is a pretty blast from the past team, with the exception of Hisui and Zorua. This honestly reminds me of like a Series 10, Series 11 team from Sword and Shield ladder. Like it's pretty solid in that sense of like this is probably like one of the more optimal teams you'd see running around on ladder. You've got Mudsdale with Sneasel beat up mode. That's going to be insane. You've got Gothitelle for Shadow Tag shenanigans. I love that. You've got Hatterene, which is, I believe, the slowest mon in the format, so you're going to have insane Trick Room there. I'm not super high on Tropius in general, but it's your tier 4 pick, so, whatever. I think Phalanx could help you out a little bit and do something potentially, but I'm not sure. And then I don't really know what Riolu is doing here other than Prankster Weather, which is Sun for Solar Power Charizard. But
and Chlorophyll Tropius.
And Chlorophyll Tropius, I guess. But other than that, I don't think Riolu does anything other than click Sunny Day. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that pretty much I want to say 8 out of 11 picks here are insanely strong, and I don't know if you're even going to need those other 3 picks from week to week. You might bring one or switch a few out here or there, but I think what you have is extremely strong and extremely hard to counter, because that Sneasel beats up into the Mudsdale. Good luck stopping the Mudsdale. Hatterene sets Trick Room. Sex Trick Room. Sex! Hatterene sets Trick Room. Good luck stopping Hatterene. The bulk on that thing's insane, and it's also decently powerful in terms of special attack.
Yeah.
Magneton is in general a very great tier 3. And yeah. Rez.
I think the weather mode is going to be really cool also. Like, obviously, Riolu's basically only setting Sun, but it's a tier 4 pick, and it's doing something, so that's more than half the tier can say. Charizard is going to be really strong. Tropius wants to be Arboliva so bad. But it's not. But, like, again, it's a tier 4, and it can do something, so
it's
the props, I guess.
It's a functional tier 4, so congratulations on having a functional tier 4.
Right. 2 fake out users in Sneasel and Gothitelle. Icy Wind with Sneasel is going to be really useful, especially for things like Magneton and Flapple. Like you said, the Trick Room mode is really good. Phalanx is nice because, like, there's a lot of scary things about this team, and so there are going to be a lot of people who want to protect, and Phalanx goes, okay, if you would like to protect, I'm going to boost all my stats.
Right.
And so it makes things really scary, and I think that forcing your opponent to play around that is relatively valuable, again, for a tier 4. I think the modes are really strong. I think the mons are really strong. I think it applies a lot of pressure. I think it's really bulky. I think it has a lot of support going for it. This team is heat. I like it a lot.
Yeah, this team is really, really good. This team screams good luck everybody else to me.
This crew is good.
Yeah, for sure. But that's all I have to say about Ed's team. Very good job, Ed. Probably one of the best drafts I've ever seen from you.
Great work, Edward.
Very good job. But coming in at number 1, he thought he would get 10th, is Toxic Crusader 48's coach of the Tennessee Talonflames.
That's why he's
That is why he's the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Raz, why is he the GOAT?
This team is nasty. I'm looking at it, and it's like, this again. I feel like this team is a similar power level to Ed, and so if you want to be like, actually, I think Toxic should be number 2 and Ed should be number 1. Sure, fuck off. But like, Tauros is insanely good in this format. I drafted it for a reason. That mon is actually incredible. Excuse me.
Good.
Having Tauros, Decidueye, Rotom as your Firewater Grass core feels really, really good. Persian is the best fake out mon in the game, and it's also just like insane support. Fake out, Icy Wind, Fake Tears, Charm, Screech, Helping Hand, etc., etc., etc. It does so much shit, and it's so fast that it's really hard to stop. Girafarig can stop opposing Trick Room with Imprison, but it can also set Trick Room for its own team, like Caparaja, or if you want to get a little frisky, Florges or Sandaconda. I think Caparaja I think it's really good in tier 3. I like having offensive steel types because I like killing fairies. And so I think with a Trick Room setter that's hard to kill, like Eviolite, Girafarig, Caparaja gets relatively consistent. Gothita has Shadow Tag. It does something. Congratulations. I think Florges is a really good fairy type. I used it in Sandbox. It did really, really good work for me. It's bulky. It's relatively strong. It can support. It can set up. I think it's really good. I'm a huge Honchkrow believer. That mon hits calcs. It's so strong.
Absolutely.
Having it as like your primary Tailwind setter is a bit questionable because it is frailer than people often realize, but it's totally fine. I think it's good. It's flying is good offensively. I like Dark offensively. Venomoth, another mon that can kill fairies. Tinted Lens is a very strong ability. It actually has really solid damage output. Again, it pressures setup thanks to Quiver Dance, and it also gets like powder moves if you want to be really annoying. It's just it's so many different parts of this team go with so many other parts of this team. The type cores are good, the offensive synergies are good. Defensively, it's got a lot of really good bulk. It makes a lot of modes work. It feels extremely flexible, and I like it a lot, especially in the hands of somebody as good as Toxic is.
Absolutely. I think this team in general is going to perform very, very well. I would not be surprised to see playoffs contention with just this team on paper in general.
Yeah.
I have to piggyback on the Honchkrow. I think similar to Heracross, Honchkrow is going to probably at least 1 week this season do war crimes on on another team.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. I think your type cores are really good. I think having Persian as one of the best fake out mons in the format, really good support move pool, and evenly spread damage across the board. I think this team makes a pretty decent case for number one. So that, well, unless you have anything else you'd like to say.
No, I'm good.
All right. Then that is your Houndstone Division power rankings. Your final rankings are: in first, Tennessee Talonflames; second, Fire Island Knights; third, Eastside Executors; fourth, the DK Jungle Beats; fifth, the Sunny Shore Star Raptors; sixth, the Dundee Dunsparce; seventh, the Corpus Christi Kinglers; eighth, the 4X Attack; ninth, the Milwaukee Mamoswine; 10th, the Paldean Knights; 11th, the Durham Toros; and in a unfortunately distant last, the HK Plates.
Man.
But that is it for Houndstone rankings here. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching this, you are a draft degenerate just like us. And we will see you in the Mabostiff power rankings probably tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
But this one will go up tonight, and we'll have Mabostiff up tomorrow. But thank you again for watching. And Raz, closing comments.
Gamers, I cannot stress this enough. This is a brand new channel. Go down and subscribe. We're going to make a bunch of videos. We have another PR coming probably tomorrow. We've got interviews coming. We've got exhibition matches coming. We've got all sorts of shit coming. You're going to want to see it. Our content is amazing. Our commentary is unmatched. We're the greatest duo on all of YouTube. Hit the button already. If you haven't hit it yet, what are you doing? I've been talking for so long. Obviously, this video was incredible. You know it was incredible. You just watched it. Hit the like button. Go down to the comments section. Say, Toby and Raz, thank you so much for making this a video. Thank you for blessing this platform with it. I love the way you sound. Everything you said was absolutely correct. That's going to be it from us for now. I have to go eat and go to work, but thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see you in the next one. I'm fucking out of here.
All right. Goodbye, folks.